Okay, everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat here in Efrat. Baruch Hashem, it's so good to be back. I miss you guys. Baruch Hashem, it was a long trip, but Baruch Hashem, we're back. And we had a couple of classes while I was absent, but Baruch Hashem, and we're going to continue now. Likutey Halachos, Hilchos, Tzizit, Halacha Hey, and we're going to do today letter Vav. So we're going to do 5, letter 6, okay? And, okay, so we were talking about the whole idea of, we were discussing here this whole idea of the Koyach HaDimyon. Koyach HaDimyon. What's Koyach HaDimyon? Imagination, right? We have an imagination, right? And how the imagination really drives the person, right? Imagination really drives the person, right? A person imagines. A person could be sitting in his room and imagining that he's freezing, he's this, that, or the world's coming to an end, and then he can go crazy, right? People can drive themselves crazy with their imagination, right? People imagine things are gonna be terrible. Where do they get it from? Listening to the news, listening to the media, listening. So we're learning here how to use the Koyach HaDimyon in a proper way. To focus the Koyach HaDimyon that I can do, that I will be successful, Hashem will help me, I will see Yeshuas, and that's what we're going to learn. That's what we're learning. We're going to see good things because we're going to imagine good things, right? The Gemara in Brachos speaks about that. Dreams go after your thoughts, right? If you think good things during the day, you see good things, you'll have good dreams, right? If you don't, you can have a bad dream, right? If you saw bad things, right? People watch these movies and the different things, and then they wonder why they have nightmares. What were you just filling your mind with? What do you expect anything else? Right, so let's see what the Rebbe has to say today, and how does this pertain to tzitzis? Because we're learning about tzitzis, so all this is pertaining to tzitzis. So the Rebbe says today, "V'alkein ikar hascholas kabbalas ol Torah u'mitzvos hu al yedei tzitzis." The whole idea we were learning here just in Tanya a moment ago, this idea of Torah, right? And Kabbalah's Torah, right? To be Mekabel, Kabbalah's all Torah. How do I accept upon myself the yoke of Torah? Right? We know if you have the yoke of Torah, you leave the yoke of Parnasa, right? You have to have some kind of a yoke, right? We're gonna have you know what I'm talking about, an all, right? So if you have the yoke of Torah, if you take on Torah to be serious and dedicated in your Torah study, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make your parnasa and different things. Well, that'll be relaxed from you. You'll get that in an easier way because you're taking on the yoke of Torah. So here we're learning here. So the hascholas kabbalas ol Torah. The haschola. How do I begin to accept the yoke of Torah and mitzvahs? Why are they mitzvahs? Is through the mitzvahs, right? Like we were learning, mamish the words we were learning just before. All Torah mitzvahs, hu al yedei mitzvahs. You can get the yoke of Torah through the mitzvahs. You see, David, is this amazing? David, is this not amazing? Look at the words.
The connection.
Look at the words. Look at the words. All Torah mitzvahs, hu al yedei mitzvahs. So how are you going to get the connection of Torah? Through doing the mitzvahs. In other words, through performing the mitzvahs, you'll get your intellect and your bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the performance of the mitzvahs. In other words, you can imagine, a person can sit and imagine, I'm putting on my tefillin, I'm putting on my tzitzis. He can imagine he's eating matzah, he can imagine he's listening to the shofar. But did he do anything? No. Unless you perform it, you didn't do anything. You have to do the mitzvah. A mitzvah has to be done. So that's the difference between Torah and a mitzvah. Mitzvah, you have to actually do something. All right?
Is it okay to say that also from Rabbi Nachman's serial, when you do the mitzvah, it ties into something inside your body?
Of course, exactly like we were learning today. So you have the 248 limbs in the body and the 365 blood organs in the body. It makes the 613 mitzvahs. It's right there. Exactly. So that's how each mitzvah is pertaining to us, mamash. And in Kriya Shema, which we have the Parsha Tzitzis, is 613. Through the whole. Okay. כי התינוק כשמזכיר לחנכו במצוות, המצווה הראשונה שמחנכן עושה הוא מצוות ציצס. היא מצוות ציצס. So when you're going to teach a child, when a child becomes 3 years old, excuse me, when a child becomes 3 years old, so what's the first mitzvah that you do? Right, you do an upsharing, right? We do an upsharing, right? And then what do? We put on the tzitzis. The kid wears tzitzis. That's the first thing you do to teach the child, is to wear tzitzis. It's such a beautiful idea that the first thing you do is tzitzis, because you want to bring the child to understand the beauty behind the entire Torah. We learned so many things about tzitzis already, right? Like we learned, we're going to see in a moment also. The idea of tzitzis is chesed. The chut shel chesed. How do you know that tzitzis is the chut shel chesed? Because tzitzis is 72. Really? How do you get 72? How many strings do we have in our tzitzis?
8. Well,
so we start out on each corner with 4. We wrap the 4 into 8, but each 4 is actually 2. Right, because each string is shazur, each string is wound, right? So it's at least 2. So if I take my 4, right? I take my 4, which is really now 8 because it's doubled, and I make it, and I'll wind up then with what? 16 strings. I wind up with 16 on each corner. So if I do 16 and 16, 16 and 16 is what? 64. 8 strings, 8 for 8 of tzitzis. It makes 72.
What's that? How do you get the 8?
Because the corner actually has 8. This brought that in Tikkun Ezayah. Rav Nosson brought it down. We learned in a few lessons ago. This idea of how you can get 72, connect the 72 with the Shem Hashem, which is 70, and how do you get to the, and Chesed itself, the gematria of Chesed is 72. Is that interesting?
Yeah.
Amazing. So when you do a chesed, which is you're doing a mitzvah, you do a chesed with somebody, you mamish bind and connect the mamish to HaKadosh Baruch Hu during the mitzvah. All right? Now, so that's what we're trying to teach the child. We're trying to teach the child, we do chesadim, and it's connected to the 72 of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anyway, now, וכן, בכל יום, בבוקר, כשקומם משנוסי, המצווה הראשונה שמזכירים לקיים היא tzitzis. Right? The first thing in the morning when we get up, right? So we say moda'ani, right? And we wash our hands, right? And then what's the first thing we do? What the first mitzvah we do? We take the tzitzis, we put on our tzitzis. It's the first thing we do in the morning. So the same thing like a child, the first mitzvah he does is tzitzis. We're like a child every single morning because we're doing the mitzvah of tzitzis the first thing again. Ki tzitzis hi bechinas tikun ubeira medameh, because tzitzis is there to help clarify my imagination. Tzitzis can help me clarify my imagination. How can it do that? So we say in the parsha of tzitzis, right? Uriisa ma'isa yuschartem es kol mitzvahis Hashem. When I see the tzitzis, I can remember all the 613 mitzvahs. So how can I remember all the 613 mitzvahs when I see my tzitzis? How? Remember we learned that? We can repeat it again?
Well, the problem is I don't see my tzitzis. I usually see someone else wearing theirs because I usually don't even see mine.
Why don't you see them?
Because they're hanging down here.
I know, but when you say Kirishma, you took the tzitzis together, right? So, and then you're looking at your tzitzis, then you can see your tzitzis, right? I'm going to look at my tzitzis, and it'll remind me of all the mitzvahs of Hashem. So Rav Nosson taught us, very nice, that tzitzis is really, when you count the strings, you have 32 strings. Right? Of course, there's 64, we said, but when you count the strings, basically, they're 32.
32 falling.
32 fall, exactly, which is Lamed Beis, 32. Lamed Beis, 32. Okay? The last letter in the Torah is a Lamed, Le'enei Kol Yisrael, and the first letter in the Torah is Bereshis. So that's why I'm holding my strings. Look at this, I can remember the entire Torah based on looking at my tzitzis. Fascinating. Again, the whole point is I could remind myself that there's so much more than what meets the eye. There's so much more out there than what the world is trying to show me. There's so much more in the mitzvahs, in the tzitzis, in every mitzvah that we're doing. It's fascinating. Who would ever have thought that there's so much stuff to learn about tzitzis? I put the tzitzis on, but who would have ever thought I could remember all? But that's what the Torah says. So in other words, that it can help fix my kayach hamedama. In other words, where I could have had a faulty kayach hamedama, where again I had a lot of worry. I'm worrying about parnasa. People worry about their livelihood. People are worried about all kinds of things. People are worried about their health. Hashem says in the parsha this week, "Ani Hashem reifecha." So why are you worrying about? If you understand right, this week's parsha, right? Ani Hashem reifecha. Kol hamachmas shesamtim mitzvayim lo Ani Hashem reifecha. Right? That's what the Torah says. So why am I going to worry about that? And we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the parnasa. Everything is based on Hashem. What Hashem gave us was granted to us on Rosh Hashanah, and it's upon us every day. Every day when we daven, we are connecting up to the Olam Atzilus David, what you were speaking about just before, right? When we get to Shmon Esrei, we get to the highest world, and we connect in the chamber where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's throne is, the Kisei HaKavod, right? The Kisei HaKavod is in the Olam Atzilus. We get to go over there. Malachim can't go there. The Malachim, the Srafim, the Eifanim, they're not allowed to go there. Nishmas Yisrael, we, you, me, every Jew that davens, Shmon Esrei can come see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his highest place when we say Shmon Esrei. Do I recognize that when I'm davening? No, the same way you were saying before. I could be learning Torah. I don't know that. If I would recognize really, if I would understand it, when I'm saying Shmon Esrei, I'm mamish having an audience with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm having an audience mamish with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the highest place. I may take an hour and a half to say my Shmon Esrei, if I recognize that, right? Shmon Esrei wouldn't take 6 minutes. That's pretty good if you could do 6 minutes, right? But you understand what I'm saying, right? In other words, if you realize you're mamish with the Rabbeinu Shalom, and he's listening to what you're saying, he wants to hear what you have to say, so then that's a different game, right? That's something special.
You'd be there for 40 days.
40 days, 50, your whole life. That's what the tzaddikim were always connected to the Rabbeinu Shalom because they felt it. The tzaddikim live that way. They feel, they see Hashem, they recognize Hashem's presence. Shivisi Hashem l'negdi sama. They live that way. We could just say it, and we're trying, and we try the best that we can, but this is what we're trying to learn here. The kayach hamedama. We have to train our thoughts that things are going to, I can learn. In other words, people say they want to learn Shas. So Rav Nosson brings in his Akdama on Likutey Halachos. He said there are two types of people, right? There's one guy that walks over to the bookcase and he sees all the Mesechtas of Shas, or he sees Mishnayos, right? Or Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, and he says, "Wow, this is impossible. How am I ever going to do this? This is too many pages. How can I ever do this?" But he said, "There's another guy. There's a guy that opens up that says, okay, let me see what's the first book." They say it's Brachas, and he opens up to the first page, right? He opens up to the first page, and he's learning the first Mishnah. And then when he finishes the Mishnah, he does the first daf. He turns the page. And then the next day, he does the next day. He does Gimel and Dalet. And hey, that guy will certainly finish because he's focused. This guy's focused on what he's doing. He's not looking at too much because there's, again, the Kayach HaMedama, the imagination will tell him, it's impossible. You can't do this. You'll never be able to comprehend this. But one page, anyone can understand one page, right? If you work on it, right? If you work on one page, you can understand. I may have to work, some guy may have to work on it for an hour. It may take another first person 2 hours. It may take another person 3 hours, but you can understand one page. Right? Is that true what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
You use that, the Torah is teaching us, I think, that you can do that with everything that you have that is you're responsible for. Like, for example, let's say you want to start exercising.
Yes.
Can you get on a treadmill for 1 minute today?
Of course you can.
Right. So you make it easy, and then
into another 2 days, you go for 2 minutes. And then 3 minutes. And 4 minutes. It's the same idea. Anything. This is the Kayach HaMedama. This is what we're learning. In other words, if you could take your imagination, the imagination will tell you, if the imagination is really connected to the Yetzer Hara. He tries to tell you that things are not going to be good and things are terrible, and why you're wasting your time davening, and why you're wasting your time learning. That's what the Yetzer Hara tells you. There's so many more things you could be doing, right? That's what it makes everything so enticing out there. But really, is it really enticing? It's not. It's all fictor. It's fiction. Everything that we see is not really there. The Torah is real.
We think it's enticing, and then we find out at some point in our lives that we were going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, Rabbi Nachman says that it's like there's the Yetzer Hara is like a guy that it shows you he has something. He puts something in his hand. He thinks there's something in his hand, and you want that thing. You want it, and you're running after that thing because you think that you want what he has in his hand. You want that thing so badly, and then he opens his hand. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. What was I running after? That's the Yetzer Hara. That's what he is. That's what he is. But that's the Koyach HaMedama. Okay, so we understand that there's something called Medama, there's something called our imagination, and we have to train our imagination in order to focus it on the proper things, and tzitzis can help me do that. Because I see my strings and my tzitzis, and yes, let's look at our strings. Let's look at the strings. Let's look at the strings. Let's understand there's so much in the strings. Shehi bechinas tikkun habegadim. And we said that tzitzis is the tikkun habegadim. What does it mean, tikkun habegadim? And we wear all kind of garments, right? A guy can buy a fancy suit. He can buy a fancy Armani suit, right? A boss, he can buy a fancy suit, right? And he thinks that, oh, wow, look how nice this is, right? It's so fancy, it's so nice. But that's nothing. It's not a real suit. That's nothing. He needs his tzitzis. His tzitzis is his real garment. Rabbi Nachman says that, when we come to the next world, the neshama will be banging on the gates, says, I'm hungry, I'm cold. So the malach will say to him, what do you mean you're cold? You have a whole wardrobe you left down in the world. Go put that on. He says, no, I don't want that. He needs all the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are the garments. He needs all the mitzvahs of the garments. The Torah is tefillah, is what he can eat and drink in the next world for the neshama. That's what the neshama needs, the sustenance that the neshama needs. You understand? So that's the whole idea, is the whole koyach hamedama. It's all koyach. Shehu bechinas tikkun habegadim. That's tikkun habegadim. It can fix all of our garments, to recognize that all of our garments are not the real thing. Our real thing is our tzitzis. I told you, I love this story, Mama, so much. Years ago, I was in Miami, and I was in a little base medrash, the Kal Hasidim, and there was an altar yid sitting. There's an old Jew sitting in the corner. Mama, he looked like he was 150 years old. The most beautiful yid. And I saw that in the morning. I come early. They open the shul there early over there, And then, okay, but Baruch Hashem. So he came in real early, and I love to watch these people to see what they do. And when he came, he was saying his brachas. He was saying Mal Bisharum. HaKadosh Baruch Hu enclothes the naked, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mal Bisharum. He took his tzitzis, and he was kissing his tzitzis and the straps of his tefillin, back and forth, for 5 minutes. He was kissing his tzitzis because that's his garment. He understood it. He got it. It's such a beautiful thing. He understands that that's my real garment. These are my garments. Yes, I have to wear a jacket. I have to wear what I need to wear. Of course, I have to wear for tznius reasons. I need to wear. But what's my real garment? My real garment is my tzitzis. Tikkun habegadim.
Is that because of the 613 mitzvot? Is that because of the chesed? What?
It's everything.
It's all of it.
It's everything. We'll learn so much more about it also. Watch. Through that, a person can clarify his emunah. A person can have clarity in his emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Emunah is something abstract, right? Is that the right word I'm using? Abstract. It's not something tangible. Emunah is not tangible. So I don't know. I believe that Hashem is with me. Like we said, Shavisi Hashem l'negdi summit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me here, right now. Hashem is with me. No matter where I go, I can run, I can hide. But Hashem is there with me. He goes with me. You know why? Because we have the neshama in us, which is a chelik elikah mimah, which is a piece of the Rebbeinu Shalom is in each and every single Jew. So how can I hide from Hashem if Hashem is in me? Hashem is in me. So where am I going to hide from him? How can I hide from him? He's in me. If he's in me, how can I hide from him?
Right.
He's with me. Hashem is there. He's with me. We have to recognize that. We have to focus on this,
But
right?
we're concealed sometimes from that. We don't.
Of course we're considered that. No, but that's why we have to keep learning, and that's how we have to clarify our emunah. Because no matter whether I accept it or not, that's the reality. We have a neshama. The neshama keeps us alive, right? And neshama shenafachta bi, ata barasat yitzata nafachta bi. Right? We say it every morning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blows the neshama back into us every single morning. That's what keeps us going. So we have to understand that. And then that's the clarity of our emunah. If we recognize that, it's a whole different day. And you start out the day with the tzitzis. You see the tzitzis to give you that push. It gives you that push to understand that, wow, I have emunah. I understand I'm connecting to the kisei hakavod. I understand I'm connecting to chesed, the chut shel chesed. 72. I understand I'm connecting to Tahara. We learned all these things. Unbelievable. Shehi yisoid v'shorish kol haTorah mitzvahs. The tzitzis and emunah is the yisoid of the entire Torah. Why does a person study Torah? Why would a person study Torah? Why is a person going to keep Shabbos? Why is a person going to put on his tefillin? Why? Because he has emunah. He understands that Hashem wants me to do this. He has emunah. It's emunah. So we have to clarify our emunah. And what can I use to clarify emunah? My tzitzis. I could use my tzitzis. Fascinating. Shehi yisoid v'shorish kol haTorah mitzvahs ki b'chol yom b'boker yotzin or hatzitzis she'im b'chinas hachut shel chesed. Every single day, the light that shines out of tzitzis, which is connected to the chut shel chesed, like we said before, the 72. It shines every single day. Am I going to take in some of that light? It's there. It's there. It's upon me to take in some of that light, to connect to that light. The light is there. Will I benefit by that? Or will I put that sleep mask on and not see the light? The light is there, right? People will put on that sleep mask because they want to sleep during the day, right? They can't, they want to sleep the day away, right? But if I don't do that and I recognize the light from my tzitzis, we said that the sunlight outside, when we have sunlight outside, that's really Hashem's light. Why is that Hashem's light? Where does the sun get its light from? The fire in the sun that keeps going is fueled by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that means the light that shines from the sun that we benefit by is really the light of the Rebbeinu Shalom, right? You ever think of that? You're seeing Hashem's light when you see the light outside. It's Hashem. You're seeing Hashem. You're looking at Hashem. You're looking at Hashem's light. Fascinating. But this comes out also from the tzitzis every single day. Shu bechinas lahagid ba'boker chazdecha. Look at the words. Lahagid ba'boker chazdecha. I'll tell over in the morning of your chesed, Hashem. I'll tell over of your chesed. The chut shel chesed. But what? Ve'emunascha ba'leilos. I'm going to acquire my emunah at night. Why? How am I going to get my emunah at night? Because if I go to sleep at night on time, and I don't go to sleep late, right? Because I want to get up for tikkun chatzos, and I want to get up to daven the nates, and I want to get up to say Tehillim and learn the parsha and do the daf and learn halacha and his baitus before I even go to daven. Wow, that's a totally different day. That's amazing. Then you'll be able to lahagid ba'boker chazdecha. You can tell over through the emunah of at night. You have emunah. I have emunah that I go to sleep on time to be able to get up to tell over the chesed of Hashem. Come over b'Torah now. We can go a little further, right? Can we go a little? Yeah. Okay. V'chol zeh nimtzach hayidei hatfilu v'chinas din shel abal koyach. Oh, this is the best. And all this comes through the idea of tefillah shebedin shel abal koyach. What's a tefillah shebedin? Tefillah shebedin is when we say tachlin, right? We tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you hiding yourself from us? Why do you keep the situation the way it's going? What's the whole idea of Tikkun Chatzos? We're crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's going on with Harabayas? What's going on? Look at what's going on. We're in shambles. And we're telling Hashem, you're allowing this. Hashem, you're allowing this. It only happens because Hashem allows it. So when Chazal gave us the words to complain. We say the words that Chazal instituted us. We don't complain on our own. We use the words of Chazal. But if you read the words, you see those words. Those are strong words. We're using very strong words, right?
What are they?
Tikkun Chatzos.
Tikkun Chatzos.
Midnight, the nighttime.
Even if you say the long Tachnim, what are we saying in the long Tachnim? All the words. We're talking about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hiding himself from us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why is he...
It's Sefer Daniel.
Yeah.
He's talking about the darkest
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
are you?
Yeah, where are you? That's a tefillah shebedin. That's a tefillah shebedin. In other words, I'm saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm recognizing it's you.
But
That's the point.
Didn't you tell us earlier that we're not only like on our own? We shouldn't have only certain times. It's really the tzaddik should feel a bit, right?
No, right, but the tefillah
it's the
itself,
tefillah
the
davening
tefillah itself is a
That's
tefillah shebedin. The tefillah itself can be a
That's
tefillah
Hashem's
din.
language.
But again, that's not my language.
Right.
That was instituted by the Nevi'im. That was instituted by Anshe Knesset Gadol. It wasn't instituted by me. I'm not going to do that. The tzaddikim can do that, but we don't do that. But we still can daven a tefillah shebedin. We can still daven a tefillah shebedin in the right way, in the right way.
I'm
Is
not
that
understanding what you said we can't do or we don't do for the tzaddikim? Or is it prayer that you're talking about? Or
prayers?
I think
In other words, okay, listen.
generally you're supposed to be more positive.
We have to be positive, but there's an idea of a tefillah shebedin that when you daven that tefillah shebedin and you prepared yourself and you have the emunah and you really recognize that the problems that are going on in the world, whatever is going on here, I recognize it's not because of this leader, it's not because of that leader, it's not because of this army and not because of this missile. This is all via HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's orchestrating the entire thing. But we're just going to point fingers. No, it's this guy, it's that guy, it's a Biden, it's a Putin, it's a this and that. All these idiots. That's all that I'm sorry, but they are a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry.
Well, how do we get everyone to ask what is going on here? What is Hashem wanting us to learn from this?
Hashem wants us to recognize that it's Him. When we all recognize,
How many of us have to recognize
when we all recognize that everything going on is going on because that is the will of Hashem, that's a game changer, and that'll change everything. That'll change everything. Right? What do they do in the Knesset? These guys, they're fighting one with the other. They're yelling at each other. What are they doing? What are they doing? It's a circus, right? I just a couple of weeks ago, someone was showing me one of these things going on. I said, it's almost like a circus, right? It's a circus, is it not, David? You know what I'm talking about, right?
What's your clowns?
It's a circus. It's a circus.
So what can we do about that? We have to.
We get up in the morning and we do our esbaidus, and we say our tehillim. And then we daven and we say the Tikkun Chatzos, Tikkun Rachel, Tikkun Leah. And we do it the right way. We do it the right way. That's what we're doing. That's what I can do. That's what I can do. Not stand there picketing and not stand there, with all the hafkanot and all of their things over there. That's a waste of time. It's mamash a waste of time. I daven. I learn Torah. This is what I can accomplish. That's how I can make change in the world. Change in the world can happen through my tefillah, through our tefillah. That's the only way we're going to make any changes. So here he says, now look, let's finish this. V'zeh b'chinas kimas chatzos laila la'oynein l'koynein al churban beis hamikdash. That's when we get up in Tikkun Chatzos. Tikkun Chatzos, and we cry and we wail over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. This is that building standing over there that they claim is theirs. Unbelievable. Right? Unbelievable what's going on. And I have to make strength in myself in order to learn Torah. And that's the main point. That's the main point. In other words, not to focus on what's going on in the world and the world leaders and their nonsense and all that, because that's all the Kayach HaDimyan. a personal thing. If I don't know what's going on in the news, how am I going to know how to react? I don't know. I'm not going to know. Right? It's all imagination. Is it going to make any difference if I know what's going on or I don't know what's going on? Is it going to make any difference? Does it make a difference? If I know that Chas v'Sholom, there was something that happened and I need to daven for Yidden, that's my concern. I need to know that, because then I can help. But what's going on in the world? What's that? How are we going to make any change? If I sit on the news, if I watch the news for an hour and I know more about what's going on in current events, is that going to make any change in the world? Nothing, nothing at all. But if I use that same hour and I say Tehillim, and I learn more Tanya, and I learn more Torah, and I learn my Daf, and I learn more Mishnah, that I can make a difference. That's how we can make the difference. And how can we do that? Through the Koyach HaDimyon. We have to fix our imagination. Right? The imagination tells us, I need to know what's going on. You need to know. You need to know. How can it be that I don't know? Right? But no. Focus on how can I get that boost through my tzitzis. I see my tzitzis. When I see my tzitzis, I recognize the chut shel chesed. I can recognize all the chesed that I have in my life. Right? The tzitzis can show me all the chesed that I have in my life. Look at all the goodness we have. Right? Look at what we have. We have better today, Baruch Hashem, B'liyai Hara, than Jews had in thousands of years. True or not?
Yeah, we also have very good, more evil.
We only have more evil because there's more good. Hashem has zelu mazeh oseh elikim. Hashem has everything balanced in the world. You can only everything is always balanced. When there's more kedusha, there's more tumah. There can't be more tumah without more kedusha. It's always balanced. So when you see more evil, you see more. That means there's that much good in the world as well.
No, I'm saying, but isn't the evil also good?
The evil is also good. That's an interesting point that you said. Yes, because really, we know that kol ma David rachmana l'tav avid. Everything Hashem does, He does for the good. So really, everything is good.
It shows us what we need.
It is good. That's Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu is which is Yitzchak tzchak. Yitzchak is laughter. Yitzchak looks at the din. Yitzchak is gvura, right? But Yitzchak looks at the gvura, he looks at the din, and he can laugh at it because he realizes it's only Hashem. He realizes you think you're in charge. You think no, it's not you. It's Hashem. He looks right through it and he sees and he knows it's only Hashem. You understand? So really, yes, the good, the bad, the evil is really good, but again, only through emunah, only through the eyes of emunah. Only through the eyes of the tzitzis, using my tzitzis, can I ever recognize that the evil is really good. It's a very hard thing to do. It's a very, 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 very hard thing to do.
I want to, just with all due respect, I think that it needs to become easier to see that it's there because it teaches us what we need to fix.
Exactly. Perfect.
So if we face that and realize it's only there to teach us what we need to fix, then
and it's
we
good.
see the good in it.
There we go. Okay. So I want to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbos. Thank you for joining. Kol Tuv.